4-part scream. We're like the Brady Bunch almost here now. We don't balance.
Oh, that little bitch ass shows up.
Let's start. It's the Culture Smash Cast, episode 628 for July the 19th, 2023. I'm Stephen Lackey, editor of the Culture Smash Cast. Nico?
Nicholas Qualls, contributor to Culture Smash Cast.
Tina?
Tina Qualls, contributor to Culture Smash Cast.
And Evie?
She's here.
Yeah. Nathan?
Nathan Savino, contributor to Culture Smash Cast.
And Zach, your boy.
Zach, still called on last, even though I'm here more often. It's fine.
I know.
I guess I'm a dumbass
Try
for
to
keep
throw you
showing
off.
up.
Well, you know, if we had gone in alphabetical order, which we didn't, but if we had.
That was always the sucky part about being in elementary school. Line up and I'm in the back.
Well, if they would do it by last name instead of first name,
Yeah,
you would have
then
been
you're
in the middle.
and it still
Would have
sucks.
been better. Yeah,
It just sucks.
It doesn't for me because I never want to be fucking first. I don't want to be first.
You know what it was like being first? 1, you're the line leader, and 2, you get your shit and you can just relax. It was always like, oh, thank God that's over. It was never
The smart
like
thing to do would be to alternate. It's like, all right, alphabetical order. All right, reverse alphabetical order. Now, last name alphabet. Like, just that way it keeps the kids on their toes.
keeps it fresh, but
that would be fun. And we're in school, so we can't have fun.
it ain't fun, baby. There's no fun.
Yeah.
No fun allowed. All right. Let's get started because we got a lot to talk about. So
tangent.
join us every Wednesday night live on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook starting at around 6:15 CST. Follow us on your favorite platform. Join the conversation live. We do follow the chats. If anyone has a question, comment, we will bring you into the conversation. Special thanks to Skinny Mixes for supporting the Culture Smash Cast. Skinny Mixes are coffee and dessert syrups that are 0 sugar, 0 calories, 0 to 2 carbs. Head on over to skinnymixes.com and try some of their delicious syrups, such as the white chocolate, salted dark chocolate, and salted caramel, and the variety of cocktail mixes they offer, including the margarita, which is my favorite, and the fruit flavor infusions. Use promo code CultureSmash for 15% discount on your order.
I bet the white chocolate would go really good with the Spider-Man coffee.
Oh, yeah.
It probably would.
Yeah.
I'm currently finishing up an iced coffee with the salted caramel, and it is delicious.
For Father's Day, I got Nico the Spider-Man Bones coffee, which is Rice Krispie flavor, marshmallow flavored coffee. It's actually really good.
They also just released a
Indiana Jones.
well, they had that one,
Yeah.
but they also just released a Haunted Mansion one. That's,
Oh,
I
Brownie.
feel like that one would be musty.
why?
Are they the one? Is that the company that I got the Army of Darkness coffee from?
Yeah.
Yes.
Because that Army of Darkness coffee, if you make it in a cold brew, we can all attest, is
Put
delicious.
those white chocolate balls I had in that. Man, that was good.
It was delicious. We're going to do that again.
delicious.
I am literally, for our 12 Hours of Terror, going to order a bag of that coffee and do that again this year. So that means Tina will be able to partake if she wants, not Nico. I think that's correct, unless you guys negotiate a different deal before then. Did we lose them?
He just muted us because I had to ask him a question.
Oh, okay, I got you. So, what has everybody got going on? We have a lot of interesting things going on before we jump into the show. Nathan, what do you have going on, sir? You got a lot happening.
Yeah, I'm gonna have surgery August 1st, and I'll probably be off work for 6 months.
Well,
Are you going to elaborate, sir? Is it appendicitis? Is it a butthole surgery? What is it?
It's an asshole rejuvenation for at least 3 weeks. No, my knee has had issues over the last decade dislocating, and I found out that my groove that holds the patella in place is abnormal. So in order to fix it, they have to do a ligament surgery. And I'll be immobilized for like 2 to 3 weeks, and then I'll be doing physical therapy in that time. And yeah.
Low key, I'm calling this surgery how Nathan got his groove back.
For you listeners out there, if you'd like to see Nathan dislocate his knee, go find the film Office Politics.
Yeah, you could see one of the first times that happened on video.
That's going in.
That's
It's
exactly
like
what
whatever
happened.
take we did after.
No.
That's the one.
The one where
Yep.
Nathan actually crashed and burned on video.
You
That's
see
the
my
one.
knee give out, and I just tumble.
And you hear him go, oh!
Look, he suffered for it. It's going in.
That's right. He's still suffering for it, boy. We need to release a special edition of that movie.
Yeah.
All right. Nico and Tina, what do you guys got going on? What have you been up to?
Well, this past week was mostly Mission Impossible.
Yeah, it was Mission Impossible. I was gonna go see Insidious, but I didn't for reasons.
Reasons.
Tina had an especially horrendous showing of Mission Impossible.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Oh, yeah,
we'll get to that.
We'll
Save
get
it.
to that.
Save it.
Oh, I
Save
thought we were
that.
doing that next week.
Yeah, we're doing that next week. We'll get to that in a minute. All right.
Yeah, nothing much. Yeah.
Okay. Zach, what about you, sir? Anything new? Anything to mention?
Oh, I was having a nice Saturday night, and then some asshole messaged me going, "Oh my god, you gotta see Mission Impossible in IMAX." So then I went to an 11 p.m. screening of Mission Impossible in IMAX. We'll get to that.
We'll get to that too.
That was basically my weekend.
All right. Well, I'll have to show this off because this is the biggest thing that's happened to me this week. Let me show you real quick. Look at this. Look at this baby. Got a new phone. Whoop. Boom.
Which one is it?
It is the Pixel Fold, and I love it because it's shaped like a moleskin, and I got a case that looks like a moleskin.
It looks like a nice little passport. Like it's passport sized.
Yeah. I think the trick with these foldables is like when you look at the Samsung, like the front screen's not usable. It's a stupid shape. This one's still shaped like a phone. So a weekend, I can't hardly put the phone down. Like I'm killing the battery almost every day because I don't like now I'm working from it. I don't use the iPad anymore. And I probably use my laptop about 50% of what I used to because I can do it all with Google Docs on this Pixel phone. So it's amazing. I love it.
Big as fuck, so your blind ass can finally see stuff.
Hell yeah.
I'll say this: it feels real nice in the hands.
It does.
Like it doesn't feel like one of those I'm gonna drop it. It feels like nice.
And I jumped in really quick because I mean it's an expensive phone, but at least I got a $400 watch with it for free. So that worked out pretty good. Because if you pre-ordered the phone, you got a Google Pixel Watch, and now I understand the whole like Apple Watch, iPhone thing where people have to have them both because these two devices are so well connected with each other. It's amazing. Like I'm like literally, I did the Dick Tracy thing and answered my phone with the watch. I was like talking on it, looking around, see if anybody was looking at me because you feel weird doing it.
Okay, here's what you need for the watch.
What's that?
And whenever I get a smartwatch, I'm absolutely 100% getting this.
Yeah.
You need the GoldenEye watch face
Oh,
from the N64. The
that
James
sounds
Bond.
pretty cool.
Yeah, I want the left side to be like the battery of the watch, and the right side to be the battery of my phone.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna get that.
Yeah,
I'm doing
right?
that. I'm doing that.
You want that, right?
I'm doing that. That's happening. But I can't recommend this phone enough. It's so sweet. That's been the biggest thing for me this week is learning this phone and playing with it. Other than that, I've been shooting video for a politician. That's been exhausting. And the big thing that we'll go ahead and get to right now because our show is about to take a pretty big change for who knows how long. The rumor is through October is what the rumor is. Dealing with how to navigate the SAG-AFTRA and WGA Hollywood strike that's going on. Because none of us are SAG members, but I feel like we are all SAG supporters for sure, especially me. I'm big time a SAG supporter, and I feel like you guys are too. So they put out an initial guide on what you could and couldn't do at various levels, from fan all the way up to actor. Mm-hmm. And it was aggressive and weird and vague, and some high number influencers on TikTok came out and were like, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. And they got their assholes ripped out big time. One creator lost nearly 1 million followers. That's how bad it was.
Well,
So I just, we're small potatoes. It doesn't matter. I just want on my conscience to say that we did as close to the right thing as we could do. That's just me. So I stepped back for a couple days, and finally yesterday, Variety got from SAG a good frequently asked questions list that broke it down from each level. Because the challenging part was journalists, social media content creators, and critics. What do we do? What can we do? What can't we do? Whatever. So here's the gist of my understanding of it. Nico, you correct me if I'm missing something, but this because I figure you've probably read a little of this too. Film critics are supposed to film critic. Continuing, you're supposed to be a critic. You're supposed to review what's out there, but not promote. Because what happens is now, because actors, producers, writers, none of these guys are going to go out on the social media circuit, the convention circuit, all that stuff. They're not going to go out and promote because they're on strike. So the best thing the studios can do is go to film critics, influencers, just social media content creators, that kind of thing, and pay them to
Promote.
Pay them to do the promoting for them. And it's actually cheaper for them to do that because it would pay us a whole hell of a lot less than they would pay Tom Cruise to promote his movie. So obviously, SAG doesn't want us doing that. So anything called or feeling like a promotion, we don't do. And we're not going to do that on this show from moving forward. And I'll kind of go over what that means as far as our stream goes.
Yeah, just to chime in on that real quick. Not that this really impacts us, but one of the motivating factors that the SAG-AFTRA union is putting on top of this is, if you're not a member like us, but want to be a member in the future, this kind of thing does affect if you can be a member or not. Like they have the right to decline your membership, and they decide you basically scabbed promotion for this material.
And they remember.
And they remember. So we decline your membership. I think one of the interesting things that we're seeing it really in the pop culture circle is cosplayers, people costuming and going to events. Because that was a big question on, are people going to be allowed to cosplay and still not only support SAG-AFTRA in the strike, but also not jeopardize any possible membership, or if they are members, jeopardize their own membership. And the general consensus is, I mean, if you're just doing something recreationally, like I'm going to a convention, I'm cosplaying as Spider-Man or something, that's one thing. But if you are Spider-Man, if you're Tom Holland cosplaying Spider-Man, that's probably a problem. But if you're particularly being hired on as a promotional event, like if Paramount hires you to dress up as Maverick cosplayer at a showing of Top Gun or something like that, that's a problem. Like, actual promotion work is not good. But if it is something,
and here's the other thing that people, especially I'm noticing on YouTube, I think their influencers are a little more seasoned than on Instagram and TikTok in particular, because they're like, oh, I'm not getting paid. If they gave you a trip, if they paid for your accommodations, if they bought you food, you are being fucking paid, and that is scabbing. So that's the challenge that's kind of been in the cosplayer realm, is because they might not give you money, but they might hook you up with those in-kind type of gifts, and that still counts. And that's where the line is kind of drawn now. And I think people are finally starting to see it. Let's see. The other things I guess that's the big thing, is promoting stuff. If you're doing something that promotes, then they really don't want you doing that. And the side note to what you just said, Nico, also is, even if you don't intend to become a member of SAG, if you want to be elevated as a journalist, they can blacklist you from SAG-sponsored events. SAG members can refuse to do interviews with you. SAG members can refuse to stop and take photos for you on red carpets. These are things that people aren't thinking about. When you see someone come out, it doesn't matter, I'm not going to be part of SAG anyway. Well, if you want to be a journalist that gets to do the cool stuff, that in the next few years, then it can impact you that way. So these are all considerations, but I don't know that stuff impacts us that much. I just morally, because I support the creators and I hate to see what AI is doing to content filmmaking. Content, to me, content and filmmaking and streaming are all three different things. But that's important. And when you see someone like a day player from Orange is the New Black getting a residual check for $27,
yeah,
that's fucked up.
There's someone, one of the cast members from Reservoir Dogs from Disney, posted like they get 33 cents. 33 cents.
Yeah.
Then someone was like, yeah, but you're a lead of this other show, and then they posted the other show's paycheck, and it was like $20.
Slightly better, but not good at all.
Yeah.
Well, and even on the shows, and this is the thing, because everybody's focused on like Ben Affleck or somebody like that, but a day player actor, even if they get a good one where they get a good advanced salary, let's say they get $1,000 a day in an entire series, they might get to work 2 days. Yeah. And that's 6 months. So that's not that much money. So I think the last I saw was 87, I think it's 87% of members of the Screen Actors Guild don't make enough money, which is $26,000 to qualify for insurance. That's crazy.
And the other thing to keep in mind, there's like 160,000 members of this Screen Actors Guild. You're not talking about like George Clooney or Ben Affleck or high earning movie stars that are famous. You have a lot of people that are extras on the set that aren't even having speaking roles, stunt people, stand-ins, a lot of people that are in a show that should get some sort of living because they are definitely contributing to the entertainment of America.
Mm-hmm.
They aren't able to live off of what they do.
Mm-hmm. But to be a successful actor on that sort of day player kind of space, you have to have a flexible schedule to go and work when you're called. So they expect you to be available when they need you, but not pay you enough to make it where you can stay available when they need you. So it is something that needs to be worked out. And the other part is the AI. What they want to do is pay day players a regular like extra rate, which a high extra rate, usually extras get paid around $100 to $150 for a day, and that's 12 hours of work. Mm-hmm. But they're talking about $350, which is really high for an extra, but you come in and they digitally scan you, and they have that image in perpetuity. They can pop it in different movies and different shows and that kind of, because you agreed to it for $350. Fuck that. Like, if you go look at Ron Perlman's TikToks, he's scary mad about it, boy. You don't want to mess with Ron Perlman. But yeah, that's a no-go. That's just them trying to find cheaper ways to do things. And we can't support that either.
And I do hope that the big thing that doesn't get lost in this is where it originated from. Is this started with the writer's strike.
Yeah.
Like, it's not just actors who are getting screwed out the ass. You have writers, you have visual effects studios. Like, honestly, they need to jump in too because they get shafted constantly.
Mm-hmm. They aren't unionized for visual effects.
It's one of the reasons I still refuse to see Sausage Party. So
yeah, well, and that's something that people don't realize. And I have Mozart's Ghost is in here. I'm going to answer your question in just a second. And what's up, Caveman Movies and More? Thank you for the pop the like note there. Let me just answer that. What is a day player? A day player is somebody who isn't a regular on a show or streaming show or whatever, but they're a guest actor. They come in for one episode or two or three episodes for an entire season, so they get paid for that day. That's why they call it day player. And the other thing that people don't realize is I saw some questions. I got asked some questions over on TikTok about why did it take the Screen Actors Guild so long to jump in here if they're so passionate about it. Well, you can only strike once your contract is up unless you're breaking a contract. So they waited for their contract to be up and they tried to negotiate the new contract, the way you would do, and the studios basically shit on them, so they went and did the strike. And I think you will see other guilds do the same when their contracts are near their end. But like you said, the visual effects people don't have a
a unionized front.
A union yet. And interestingly, something that's come up that does relate to Zach and I directly is there's no Hollywood-based union or guild for documentary filmmakers, but that's something that some heavyweight documentary filmmakers are pushing for. So all this stuff means we watch our asses and don't break the rules, because if they get that together, I'm signing up.
Mm-hmm.
And there is going to be a branch of SAG for content creators also that you'll be able to apply for. So there's things happening in the future that make it worth us being careful. Yeah. So what we're going to do moving forward on the show is we're not going to promote. So that means we're taking away our box office segment. I'm not going to talk about what's making money and how many more weeks it has to be in the theater. We're taking away the opening this weekend because we're not promoting what's coming out this weekend. Now, this is not a boycott, so we are all still going to go see movies. But that's incumbent upon you to go find what's coming out. We're not going to talk about that anymore. We're not going to talk about Blu-rays and physical media coming out this week because that's struck studios also. So there are ways to do that are still out there. You can find it on Blu-ray.com or whatever, but we're not going to do it. What we are going to do is we are film critics here. Most of us have written over the years for publications and whatnot, and we will continue to do that. So we're going to see those movies that are coming out this weekend, and next week we'll review them. We'll do our critic thing. So that aspect of the show remains.
Yeah, we'll do our planned double feature.
Yeah, we're doing our planned double feature this weekend. So that's going to be in. We're going to do more features. So next week, if we have time next week, because we're going to be reviewing 2 major movies next week, so we'll see how it goes. But we're going to do a feature here where we discuss our best and worst movie theater experiences, things like that. We're going to add that kind of stuff in here. And we're going to do, like we have a story today that's sort of runs parallel to movies and streaming, but it's not movies and streaming. We may do some toy type of things here and there. Other things that are of pop culture relevance to us that we can talk about, but we won't be doing anything that's considered to be promoting.
If you want, I could do a dramatic reading of whatever smut book I'm reading that week.
I'd listen to that.
And I will be available more for the next few months, so
because
whatever
somebody's on his bootay.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we are all doing the 48-hour film project in August, and we'll probably dedicate at least one episode of the show to those experiences. And then if there's something anyone who's listening or watching wants us to talk about that's like that, if you want to hear more about filmmaking, you want to hear more about film criticism, let me know. We'll do that stuff too. There's a ton of stories that we can share. And hopefully this strike doesn't go that long, but like I said, the rumor is through October. So, yeah, that's what the anticipated length is. I mean, Universal Studios did you see what they did?
No. Oh, yeah, I did. That was bullshit.
Yeah, they went down the street in front of their studios and trimmed back all the trees so that the picket people on the picket line didn't have shade.
I saw that, yeah.
Yeah, so that's some bullshit that's happening right now. So it's hardcore, it's nasty, but we will also continue to elevate the union side. We'll have stories and whatnot, and it's interesting. I think it's important to do that because some of the major publications aren't doing it, and you can kind of tell who's getting paid by studios and who isn't, because if you go over to the Hollywood Reporter right now, they got nothing on their main page above the fold about the strike. You go to Variety and they have 2 or 3 stories sitting there right on their main page. So think about that when you're trying to learn about what's happening.
You have some good big names out there on strike too. Like I saw something the other day with Hillary Duff.
Yep.
No.
Oh, I'm loving all the strike videos on TikTok right now because, sorry, Nathan, can't see those. But there's just people like actors posted TikToks of the picket lines. If I lived in a Hollywood area or the New York area, I would be on those picket lines myself because
there was a protest in Nashville, I think Monday or fairly recently. That had like 60 people at it.
I'm surprised there hasn't been one in Atlanta, at least not one that's been reported.
Yeah,
you would think because Marvel has all those studios down there, and so does Tyler Perry and all that stuff. So that's
going to be a really fascinating development. Not I mean, any of the newer Hollywood satellite areas like Atlanta has become for like Marvel and a lot of productions. And that's also an excellent question. Going back to the convention that I mentioned earlier about what does this mean for guests going to conventions? And that's also a very can they do it, can they not kind of thing. In some cases, some can still go, but in others, especially if there was something that was specifically for promotion of a project, and especially if it was being financed by a production company, that's no go. Like Comic-Con, San Diego Comic-Con, which is this weekend, is going to be a radically different beast than it's been in the last couple of decades.
I kind of wish I could go because I feel like it's being forced into rolling back to what Comic-Con used to be before Hollywood sort of put their foot in it.
You can actually get into things.
You can get into things. And they're going to have to refocus. They're probably going crazy refocusing some programming to fill some gaps.
Well, I noticed this because Wizards of the Coast, the company that produces Dungeons and Dragons and Magic the Gathering, just recently unveiled we're going to be at San Diego Comic-Con and we have all this stuff. And I'm like, the thing's in a week. Did you just get a spot because everything else backed out? What's backfilling Comic-Con? I think you start to see that if you pay attention to promotion getting into the event.
But this is a serious hint. If you live in the LA area and you're someone who's an aspiring writer or actor, you need to go pick it. Don't go up to the writer of Orange is the New Black or the writer of whatever show that's picketing there and say, hey, can you hook me up? But go up there and bring them a coffee and befriend them on the line.
It goes for voice actors too.
Yeah, if you want to get involved, this is your chance to have no walls between you and so many great creative people.
Go out there and offer them shade with an umbrella.
Exactly. And don't say shit about what you do. Just go out there and be part of it, and then by the end of it, you probably have some friends.
Or go out there and offer them some water, because it's hot.
Exactly. I saw a video somebody had a crap ton of pizzas that just went out there and started handing out pizzas. Like every so many people, they would drop a pizza. But yeah, man, it's such a good opportunity to really get to meet people and make connections without making connections.
And showing your support. If you
showing your support
that you're in, you need to support it.
100%.
And people remember that too.
They do. And if you want to know, really get more into what is going on, and why we are where we are, you can follow me over on my TikTok because I'm going to be doing several videos about this, kind of breaking it down, why the pay is where it is, what the studios have actually done to themselves to put them in the situation they're in. If you want that stuff on this channel, you got to let me know, and we'll do it. I just don't want to bore people if you don't want that much detail. But I'm happy to talk about it because I am so deep. I'm so deep into this shit right now, because it's fascinating and it affects so many people. The Screen Actors Guild is apparently the biggest single guild in the world. They have more than any other group. But this is going to be the summer of strikes because UPS is on the way. So we're gonna have trouble getting movies and trouble getting our shit from Amazon.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's gonna be a hell of a summer, boy. But anyway,
buku of physical media on backlog that I need to go through. So.
Yep. Well, now's the time. Now's the time to go look at all the old shit that you haven't had time to look at. But we are good with new stuff. We're going to continue having new stuff all the way through about December. Yeah. It's starting at the 1st of next year is when things, because already a bunch of Marvel stuff has been pushed.
Darn, I'm crying over that.
I know, right?
I'm devastated. Dude.
I'm not convinced the Marvels won't get pushed. I bet you. The Marvels is already set for this fall.
No, I think that one happens because I think that one's done in terms of actual production. It's probably got post-production stuff, and it's people that are. It's not going to be SAG people. It's going to be editors, VFX, directors still doing some work. So I think.
Well, but here's two reasons why I think it might get pushed. One is if in this I've watched this happen online the other day. If the picketers, the strikers, go and establish a picket line in front of the studio, which they did in front of Marvel the other day, workers wouldn't cross it. Like there was Teamsters and stuff, they stopped their trucks. They would not cross the picket line. And that's a problem. And the other part is Marvel is probably looking at their slate saying, holy shit, we don't have anything ready that will now be ready for the first half of, through 2025. So we better spread some stuff out so we have plenty of things still coming that can get the most And those are the reasons I think you might see it still get pushed. I don't know that it will, but I feel like that would be a common sense move on their part because they still have some stuff happening on Disney Plus and whatever.
You know what they could do?
What could they do?
They could go back and really polish up those scripts and
polish those turds.
You can't because the writers are on strike.
Yeah, they can't do that.
Whoopsie doodles.
but one thing I do want to cover, because the strike's been going on for about a week now.
Mm-hmm.
People might still see interviews and promotion material with stars, actors. That's because that's already been done. Like, that's already in the can and produced by them. Like, you're seeing plenty of interviews right now for Mission Impossible, for Haunted Mansion coming out soon, for what we got, Oppenheimer and Barbie and Lee. That's because they've already shot all that stuff. They've already done the interviews for that. So those actors are not crossing the line. They're not scabbing. They just did that before the strike happened.
Exactly. And also, it was very. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
One of my favorite bits about like the steadfastness of actors, like strikes on, we're doing it, is the Oppenheimer premiere. I believe it was in London. Is when the strike happened. So you had actors on the red carpet, and they were doing interviews saying, "We know this is the vote's going down. If we go on strike, we're leaving the premiere." And they left the premiere.
And they technically did not have to, because the strike didn't go out, technically start till midnight that night. But they didn't stay for their movie out of solidarity, just to show the solidarity of it. And I thought that was amazing.
And Christopher Nolan do the whole pre-movie spiel, and very supportive. And it's like, hey, my crew had to go because they were striking. Good luck. Good. I wish them luck. Here's the movie. Have fun, everybody.
Well, and you're going to see a lot of pre-recorded stuff too, because the studios did something really shady. When the strike happened, when it was first announced, they came out and said, "Okay, let us hear your demands. Let's have before it actually starts, let's talk." And they delayed the actual launch of the strike by 12 days. They had no intention of taking those talks seriously, but those 12 days allowed the studios to get their promotions together for Barbie and Oppenheimer. It was literally a delay tactic to get all those videos shot and all that stuff done.
That's kind of a dick move.
It's exactly what they did.
Oh, no, it's 100% a dick move, and they knew exactly what they were doing, and that means that they have no respect for the people that actually go into making these movies.
It's true. All right, so we've probably been on these specifics enough. Let's move on to some stories. We have one strike story because...
what about Fantasy Film.Doc?
Oh, do we have the updates for Fantasy
We
Film.Doc?
do. I've got them pulled up. So we're just to refresh anyone who is unfamiliar, we do Fantasy Film Ball, where we bid on movies every quarter to see what we think is going to make the most money in the domestic box office over 4 weeks. And it's all fantasy, fake money, no real bets are happening that you see on screen. And the first block for the summer. So summer is catching with it was April, May, June.
No.
May, June, July, and August.
August. It's not every quarter, it's every 4 months.
It is every 4 months.
Every 4 months. Yeah, it's
so
3 times a year.
May, June, July, August. So Tina usually does this, but she's stuck with a baby weighing her down. Speaking of, Tina is in 5th place with $78.4 million.
I might break 100 million. Who knows?
She might. We'll see. Next up is Nathan with $330 million. So they're close, neck and neck almost.
I'm catching you, Nathan. I'm catching
There's a $251 million difference between the two. Third place is me at $381 million. So that actually is a tight race. Second place is Steven at $457.7 million. Yeah. And in the lead, Zach Martin with $546.7 million. It's almost a $90 million.
Suck my mother.
I only need 100 million, baby.
Zach, I want you.
Dick. Suck my motherfucking dick.
Zach, I want you to thank me in your acceptance speech, because if I hadn't let you have Spooderman, you would be in 4th place and I would be in 2nd.
Excuse me, acceptance speech. There's not going to be an acceptance speech. We still got a long game to go, y'all.
Yeah, I remember getting Spider-Man for real cheap.
Yeah, 32, 30
Yeah.
something.
I am so upset at myself just because, like, I went all in on Indy. I went all in on Flash, and I did look at the numbers, but I'm pretty sure Transformers is probably really what's holding up my numbers right now.
If you go to gross breakdown.
Gross breakdown. It is super gross to. I'm not even. But yeah, it's so crazy. The movies that are just not doing well. Yes, actually, Transformers is doing it for me. Damn. What world did we ever see a Bay spin-off Transformers movie? Because he's not directing it, but he's in that franchise of Bay formers, beating out Flash and Indiana Jones.
I just need another month and a half.
Yeah, maybe.
It'll be a whole different story in a month and a half, y'all.
For the TikTok game, we also have numbers. So let me get that one pulled up. Pulling up the rear of that one is Steven, who has no hope of winning that one at all with 135.7 million.
I'm doomed.
Dustin has 141.8 million. Chris has 319.3 million. Andrew has 521.5 million. But Jason has 675.7 million.
Wow, Jason.
Yeah, this game is basically over. I don't think there's any catching up.
So Jason's going to be bumping up to the main bracket.
He is, yeah.
Which one of us?
Oh no, actually, we're doing that starting on the next one because I played in both games and I can't do that for us to do that. So it'll happen this next game. Yeah. Yeah. So what's going to happen is we have a TikTok bracket and we have a YouTube bracket, and what's going to happen is the winner on the TikTok bracket for this fall game will bump up to the YouTube bracket, and the loser of the YouTube bracket is bumping down to play with them. So we'll see how it goes. It's always fun because it mixes the groups up because the four of us really know each other. We know how each other's game is.
We know how to screw each other. We know which ones people are going to be going after.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you get pulled from this group and dumped into a group of people you don't know, it'll be a really different game for you.
Game on.
I
Looks
will
like
say
that
this
shit
though.
ain't happening to me.
And Tina knows this because she witnessed it. They play a lot nicer than we do.
They do. They're like little children. And I'm like, oh,
they're just
sweet.
They're just learning. This is still pretty new. We've been doing this a decade.
Yeah.
So,
And we know each other very well.
I mean, there's a piece of me that I don't want to I don't want to play with them again because I've played with them and it's fun to play with them. But I would love to see someone like Nathan end up having to play with them because they wouldn't know what was going to hit him.
I feel like little Jack from Incredibles, where I bust into flames and set fire.
But yeah, so that game will happen not too far from now, August. When do we play again?
August is usually when we do the bidding.
Yeah.
So September, October, November, December will be the release date for the movies.
So it'll be the end of August.
Oh, wait a minute. How do we do that without promoting films?
We'll have to cross that bridge when we get to it. Hopefully, maybe something will be changed. But if
it's all blind draws.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. And I don't know. The only thing we could possibly do, and it would suck, and I don't really want to do that. Hopefully, we'll come up with something else. Is we could play offline.
Yeah.
And just post the results. And that might be an option. So, but we'll see. Let's cross our fingers and hope for the best. Maybe by we've got a month and a half. Maybe something will happen. And also, you might see SAG lighten up on with their expectations from all of us too. I don't know. Let's just hope for the best. Let's move on to some stories. We got a couple to actually cover. The first one from Nico really is sort of a recapping of what's happened so far in the strike.
Yeah, currently at a state of play, the SAG-AFTRA, which, by the way, is the Screen Actors Guild American Federation of Television and Radio Artists. Their members have gotten a fuller look on what was on the negotiating table between their union and the Alliance of Motion Pictures and Television Producers, which is the studios that they're trying to negotiate with for their new contract. And not a lot of great happiness going around. We got some pull quotes from Star Trek Discovery star Wilson Cruz tweeted, quote, "My eyes popped out of my head when I read these deal points last night. Unreal." Kristen Johnson of the Righteous Gemstones tweeted, "They actually hate us," in tweet. But for SAG after strike captain Jeff Reeves, the counter was, quote, "not much of a surprise." As far as counter proposals go, it wasn't much of a counter proposal. It was just a flat out rejection of almost everything, said SAG after strike captain Darcy Solomon. So what's basically going on? Topics that were marked as proposals from SAG was basically cast share in revenue generated through their streaming projects. That's a big point because in terms of how successful a streaming project is a random guess because Netflix and Hulu and Amazon, they don't actually tell you numbers. So it's really hard to figure out how successful a show is doing. So you have that, West and East Coast background actors working under the same terms for tone, style, period, accents, and character descriptions to be provided to a performer at the time of an audition as requested, as opposed to being sprung on you right there. An acknowledgement that performance capture is a skilled category of work to be covered by SAG-AFTRA. So mocap and increased penalties for productions that fail to provide meal breaks or sufficient rest between workdays. The AMPTP called the document's summation of the negotiation proposals and counters an effort to, quote, mischaracterize the discussion. Also, talking points were AI usage and background actors, as we've talked about a lot here. So really, for the most part, it's not looking good for SAG getting what they want. The production companies seem pretty steadfast in not giving any ground so far.
So I feel like, this is all, people tend to freak out because they want everything now. And we see this in politics. If it's not happening now, it's just not happening. But this is part of negotiation, is the other side is going to come back and say no to everything. And then each one is going to pull to their extreme, and hopefully by the end of it, we eventually meet in the middle. But yeah, it's so insulting that you have to fight for a food break. It's crazy to me. How do you have to fight to get time to eat food? And some of the things where on there were like not making extras take public transportation from bad areas of town. You could have put your extras in jeopardy by making them pick up a city bus to come and work for you in a bad area of town.
And they're not saying, hey, these extras need to be picked up in a limo. No, they're just being like, hey, maybe a per diem for them to get an Uber or something that is a safe mode of transportation, especially if they have to show up to a casting call in like provocative clothing for a scene at a nightclub or something that's filmed in the daylight. And a lot of these casting calls are like 4 a.m., 3 a.m.
Well, and even cheaper than an Uber is hire a transpo person and rent a van.
Yeah.
And let that van go around and pick people up, drop them off, and then take them home and drop them off. That ends up being cheaper, believe me, than sending a bunch of Ubers. And, that's what productions used to do. Now we're fighting to keep that. It's kind of like crazy. But yeah, if you want to go and you can look, if you just do a little search over on Threads, you'll find the actual documents up there and you can read them for yourself. And it's crazy to see, SAG's, and it's split. On one side, SAG's asking for this, and on the other side, instead of counter offering, it just says rejected.
Yeah. That's what I took away from it. It was like, there's no even counter. It's just fuck you, rejected.
Yeah, it's crazy. So these are going to be some pretty mean-spirited negotiations, but I think they were in 2008 too. To be honest, I think it was pretty bad in 2008. So
I think I was going to say that I think the difference we have. So 2008 was the writers' strike, the last time the writers guild struck, and that's what led to a lot of abbreviated TV seasons. A lot of us like to say it's what killed Heroes and some other stuff. So this is the first time that in 60 years that the actors and writers have struck at the same time. But I think now it's going to be just more exploded based on how many of these guild members have social media.
I was about to say, it's the age of social media. You cannot get away with anything. All the dirty little secrets that these studios are trying to keep under the rug. No, sorry, not anymore.
And here's what's interesting. And I saw a tweet from Mark Ruffalo. Did you guys see what he put out?
Mm-mm.
He said, I guess it's time for me to go do some more indie movies.
Hell yeah.
And while they're on strike, he can do whatever the hell he wants. He's not locked down to any studio contracts, so he might.
There's like 40 indie movies that like SAG-AFTRA is like, yeah, go for it. And there's a couple of A24 films that I'm.
Well, let's be honest. Some of the stuff that's in indie market right now has better storytelling than what's being produced by these major
Past lives. Yeah. Oh, and that. Oh, by the way, that might be moving forward next week. What we might do as far as opening this weekend, we might start focusing on the limited release stuff.
Yeah.
Go see this. Here's something interesting we can promote because this is not a struck studio. But we're going to have to look into it a little bit. Because technically even A24 is a struck studio. So
Draft House. Is that a struck studio?
What?
Draft House Films.
We'd have to check to see. We're
going to have to see. And so here's the difference. And this is what you have to look into. A24, for example, doesn't just buy movies. They produce them. Now, if you go to somebody like Draft House Films, I don't know that they actually produce anything. I think they just buy things and put it out. They would not be a struck studio necessarily. It's gray. It's a gray area. But if you're producing a movie and you're treating actors a certain way and all this stuff, I'm going to have to look into it more to see what we can do. Because it's just
I think it depends on who's actually like a member of the Alliance of Motion Picture and Television Producers. So like some A24 projects are okay. So I don't know if it's necessarily the ones that they are producing but haven't sold to a distributor yet or something. Whereas other projects that they may be releasing with a distributor, those are struck because Universal is releasing it. So it's like, nope, can't do that one.
Can't do that.
There's a lot of nuance in this.
So it's going to require a little work.
So there's still a lot of stuff coming out.
Yes, and I'm hoping I can find, it would be nice if SAG would actually do this work for us and put out a list of movies you can talk about. That would be cool.
Well, I think they probably will. I think it's, like I said, this is still really new. And a lot of particularly a lot of the convention stuff that I talked about earlier is stuff that has come out because people were asking SAG. It's like, hey, when are we going to do this? Because like I mentioned earlier about celebrities going to conventions and how that can be tricky. But it's also a very valuable source of revenue for a lot of them. Yeah. Especially like the ones that are on genre TV shows like Walking Dead and stuff. They get paid little to nothing on The Walking Dead. They make their money going to cons and doing autographs.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
They want that ability to do that. And in a lot of cases, they still can. They just have to be careful.
Yeah. If they can go and promote themselves, it's going to be interesting for people who buy those headshot pictures. Like they like to buy pictures and get them signed. Like let's say Norman Reedus, for example. If he was to do that, he couldn't have any Walking Dead pictures on his table. It would just have to be standard Norman Reedus generic headshots. That's going to be
bring your own Walking Dead stuff. So you have Walking Dead material to.
I don't know if that's true.
From what I've read, they could sign anything, but they can't sell anything that's outside of their headshot.
Okay, that makes sense.
They like their stuff has to be like Norman Reedus banner, not like Daryl banner behind them. It's got to be like them promoting themselves.
What I'm hearing is I can still get my Boondock Saints signed.
Yeah, you get if you have it as a fan in line asking for them to sign something, because that's not them actively promoting their work. They're just providing a service essentially. That's
interestingly,
from everything I've read.
For fans, that's going to be kind of awesome because that means some actors won't sign stuff that you bring them because they charge less for that. But now they're going to have to reduce their signature price a little bit and let you bring your own shit, which is what I like to do anyway. I've kind of gotten out of the whole picture thing.
They need the money, and it's a good source of revenue for them. Yeah. One thing I do want to touch up on this though, real quick, in relation because we talked about the 2008 strike, is I'm kind of curious what sort of new media experiments we're going to get out of this. The thing that always comes to my mind in 2008 is we got like the Dr. Horrible sing-along blog. So this new
and we also got from the same director. We got that was it Much Ado About Nothing or something with one of those?
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean that was still a
Yeah.
traditionally released movie,
but not traditionally produced. He shot it in his house with his buddies.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah.
But I mean, my main point is like Dr. Horrible was a direct to internet production. It's like free to watch. Just go online and watch it. And that at that level of quality with the star talent that was in it hadn't really been popularized as much at that point.
And I still sing songs and quote that series. Like, yeah.
I still make Hammer jokes.
Yeah.
I still say, what a crazy random happenstance.
So what is going to be this strike's innovation because it's outside of what's barred? I'm really fascinated.
Such a good question.
So does this affect like Netflix and Amazon and stuff too?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Netflix and Amazon are really
part of the AMPTV. From what I understand, like one of the many different stories I've seen throughout of it, Netflix is one of the very contrarian members of the Motion Picture Alliance about like I don't want to give away anything. So it's like they're definitely one of the antagonists in the story.
All right, so I'll just try to do this really quick. Real quick, this is kind of the reason that a big piece of the reason where we are where we are, and I just find the whole thing fascinating. The traditional method that residual would be paid, and a lot of this has to do with TV and streaming shows. You would do the show, you would get an upfront payment for your appearance, and then you would be granted a residual payment. Now, the way they calculated how much you would get would be a show, especially a show that the goal was always to get 100 episodes, because 100 episodes was the benchmark for syndication. Some shows would get syndicated with less, but if you could get 100 episodes, you could sell the shit out of those episodes on a secondary market. Mm-hmm. So a network that owned this show, say Seinfeld or something like that, they would sell that show for a licensing fee. And then the licensor, the purchaser of the show, would be able to recoup their funds plus make profit by selling advertising. So it's all advertising based. And the seller of the show would know the value of the show based on a couple things. A little bit based off Nielsen ratings, because you could count how many people watch. But more importantly, how much they could get in advertising for that show. So the Nielsen rating would pump up the cost of the advertising. The competition for advertising would then pump the cost up further, and that would value the show. So they would sell that show for a licensing fee, and then that licensing fee would get broke up into residuals. The studio would keep the most of it, but they would have residuals that would pay out for everybody per episode. Mm-hmm. And that licensing charge would be based off how many times is Fox 17 going to fucking run the masturbation episode of Seinfeld, right? So it was a very clear-cut way to know how much value was in a show based off the advertising and the count of people watching. You had all that stuff.
So that's kind of like what they did with like Law and Order, how they distributed Law and Order SVU, and how
they still do.
Yeah,
how they still do. It's running nonstop on Ion. Believe me, I know, because
it's nonstop on Ion, nonstop on USA. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But the problem with streaming is you would do your show, you would get like a pretty low upfront rate. It's really low. Like I was reading, like Orange is the New Black has been really at the center of it because some of those actors have been really forthcoming with what they made. A lot of them still had to work secondary jobs while they were making the show because they weren't getting paid anything up front hardly. So they would get that, and then you would get the promise of residuals based on a magical impact the show has on subscribers. Has nothing to do with how many times it's watched, how many hours it's been viewed, none of that. It's all Netflix and Amazon and Hulu's magical concoction of the assumed value of the show to the overall subscriber base, because the only money that Netflix has coming in is from subscription. And then that's why they're cagey a lot of times about how many times a show is watched, because they don't want to say this show's been watched, this episode with this one day player has been watched 75,000 times, but we sent her 82 cents as a residual. And that's the problem, is we don't have this clear path of income like we had with advertising. So, and licensing, because Netflix, Hulu, none of these channels are licensing out their stuff to other networks that they can take that license fee and then bust it up. can make payments. So that's what everything is so weird right now. And one of the things that the actors and writers are asking for is some transparency on the actual views. How many actual times are shows being viewed? And then they can say, hey, you paid me 82 cents. That's fucked up.
Well, it's like dictating worth. Like, yeah.
They're actually, Netflix is dictating their value rather than there being a clear financial path showing the value.
Yeah.
And the only solution to that is going back to an advertising-based model. And the problem with companies like Netflix and Hulu, the honest part of it is they're losing money because it's a dead end business model. They're peaking as far as subscribers, and they've got to find other ways to make money. And the way they do that is to not pay out, and that's fucked up. That's
well, I mean, heck, Netflix are very struggling on subscriptions because you get the free trial and then you cancel, blah blah blah. But then now they're breaking it down where you have to have individual subscriptions per people. Like, it's just ridiculous.
There is an interesting article that's up on. I think this one actually is on Hollywood Reporter. The headline is Netflix reports blockbuster earnings after locking down passwords. So they're making a shit ton more money, but not wanting to pay anybody anything. So there you go.
Oh, is that true? Like,
it is true.
The earnings came out and they're
it's true. It's over on Hollywood Reporter. They say that the loss rate of people dropping subscriptions was much lower than they expected.
Reality is often disappointing.
It really is. It really is. All right, but we were talking about Comic-Cons and stuff, so let's move on to the next story.
All right. San Diego Comic Convention, the parent company of the International Comic Convention, and Entertainment Cruise Productions, which did the Star Trek cruise experience, are teaming to launch Comic-Con, the cruise. The full ship charter will take fans from Tampa, Florida to the Mexican island Cozumel on board Royal Caribbean's Serenade of the Seas, with its first voyage set for February 5th through the 9th of 2025. An immersed, one-of-a-kind experience dedicated to comics and popular arts, fans will have the chance to interact with actors, creators, authors, and more as part of a lineup of special events and activities. Oh, Jesus Christ, Nico. Hold on.
You
I
blew
gotta
it.
get back to my story because Nico doesn't know how to use the cursor. This also includes like trivia sessions, tastings hosted by talent, and live demonstrations. There will also be themed night parties and cosplay events with DJs, competitive video and tabletop gaming, vendors, group panels, Q&A session. Basically, it's a Comic-Con on the seas. And it will take place as the cruise navigates the Caribbean and Mexico. So you still get the draws of the cruise of the beaches. You get the architecture of the Caribbean. You can relax poolside. You can climb a 40-foot wall. You can get drunk.
It literally is a traditional cruise crossed with a comic convention.
I'm not done, motherfucker. All right, Nico. Cabin rates start at $999 per person for a double occupancy room, which includes all performances, interviews, parties, events, and meals. If you want to learn more, go to MICCON. My comic cruise.
My Comic Cruise, is that what it is?
MIC Con.
Mick Con the Cruise. MICCON.
Google it.
I almost thought it was Mickey Mouse Club because I was like, MICKEY.
I almost started doing that. I'm like, this looks
So it sounds like a lot of money, but honestly, when you cross a cruise with a convention, and it does include all the food you can possibly eat. Having been on a cruise now, I understand a little bit more. It's not that bad, really. Honestly. And Cozumel is fun. That's where I got my amazing tequila. So this is the kind of cruise
they have a really cool dolphin swim experience in Cozumel too.
Ooh, they do. I didn't do it, but I saw it.
Dolphin areas.
This is the kind of cruise I would do. I think, yeah, we can't do it this time because we've got to plan more, but I would do this like with you guys or something. That would be fun for us to all go and do for a week.
I mean, it's 2025, so.
Oh, it's 2025. It's that far out.
February 5th through the 9th, 2025.
We could do that.
We could plan that.
Well,
Maybe we can get a table there.
Because I know that if we planned it, Dwayne would go for sure. Probably a few other people would do it.
Evie will be 2 by then.
What's that?
Yeah. Evie would be 2 years old.
So anyway, I think that actually sounds really fun. I like the idea of themed cruises, and they've had rock and roll ones. Disney has their own cruise line that's so hardcore, but this sounds more like my taste. It has all the nerdy stuff in it. What, Nathan?
Evie should be Grogu for Halloween.
Evie could be an amazing Grogu for Halloween.
I kind of wanted to do Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz and have Shadow be the Cowardly Lion.
Yeah.
Oh.
That's amazing. But this is the kind of stories we're going to do. Like, this doesn't really impact our strike situation at all, so it's kind of fun. Zach, would you do a cruise with us if we did that?
Do I have Wi-Fi?
If you could,
you do not want to do a cruise Wi-Fi. Don't pay for it. Don't waste your money.
it's expensive.
So I don't have Wi-Fi.
Nope.
Well, okay, you have Wi-Fi at the ports. So
But you have access to buffets and all sorts of stuff to do.
Yeah, but can I read my smut on my Kindle without downloading it?
I was about to say,
No, you're going to have to download your shit before you go. When I went to Cozumel on that same basic cruise, I had downloaded movies and downloaded stuff.
So cool, yeah. What's going on Reddit?
Yeah, you can't do that. You got to take a day away from the internet. And it literally ends up being 2 days. But you'll have Wi-Fi. But
oh my gosh.
When you have that one full day at sea, there's no Wi-Fi that day.
Zach won't be able to read spoilers and keep up with 4chan.
Zach will have to put his phone away and actually interact with people.
Oh, God.
Oh my gosh, socialization, Zach.
Fucking kill me.
I thought you were about to say socialism.
Socialism. All right, you all. So we're not doing new movies this week or new Blu-ray. So I guess we're done. There are both.
Do we have a review?
Oh shit.
Oh, yeah, I thought we were gonna talk about.
We're already an hour in.
Should we just dedicate next week's episode to all reviews and do
reviews?
Do 3 movies.
3 reviews in one.
Do that.
Let's break it up, but let's talk about it after the show on how we break it up.
Okay, yeah, so stick with us next week. If there's a movie you're interested in hearing a review, that's coming. We're going to do that. This week we had a lot to talk about, and I knew it was going to be this way. So, all right, so let's bring this baby to an end then, because we've been going for quite a while. Nico, where do we find you on the internet?
You can find all that I do at nicholasqualls.com. Haven't been too active since this little one, but social media is there. I haven't written a review of the movie we were going to talk about yet, but I do have a star rating, so check that out. Letterboxd.
All right. Tina?
You can find me on most major social medias, including Letterboxd, under Cheddar Popper. That is CheddarPoppr.
Zach?
You can find me on Instagram, Threads, Master of the Matrix 91. You can find me on Discord, on Steam, A Dangerous Mute Lunatic. And you can also find me, of course, on Letterboxd, Master Z91.
All right. Nathan?
You can find me on Instagram, Threads, Nate_R_70, Facebook, my full name, and you can find me here more often now that I'm going to be grounded.
All right, so you can find me on TikTok, Threads, Instagram, and YouTube as OTS Movies, talking about the strike, talking about movies as best I can, talking about whatever I can get away with without screwing things up. But anyway, yeah, follow me on all those platforms. I go live almost every night at this point on TikTok. So me and some other film nerds over there, we're going to bring these groups together pretty soon. So I guess until next week, everybody have a good one.
Bye,
Bye everybody.